Is WWE 2K22 on Xbox Series X worth your money? You're about to find out. What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani of TSC here to give you guys my thoughts on WWE 2K22 Next Gen on the Xbox Series X. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Full disclosure, we received a copy of this game from the publisher for the purpose of this review. The nWo 4 Life Edition, which retails at $119.99, and it includes the nWo pack, the cross-gen bundle base game of WWE 2K22. It includes the Starrcade 1996 Rey Mysterio pack, the Undertaker Immortal pack. You also get all 5 DLC packs that will be released at some point after the launch date of this game, so stay tuned for that, which is pretty cool. You also get the MyRise Mega Boost that gives you a nice head start to the game, plus a Supercharger pack. WWE 2K22 is the first mainline WWE 2K game in years. Now, we could count WWE 2K20, but that was an absolute abomination. So a lot is riding on this game for WWE and 2K. Could they get the job done? Well, let's dive in. The first thing you'll notice when you play WWE 2K22 is that the graphics look awesome. I've been playing WWE games forever, since I was a kid, and for years and years, especially in the last decade, they have always lagged behind, literally and figuratively, when it comes to the graphics. But I gotta say, WWE 2K22, for the most part, actually looks like a next-gen game. It looks awesome. The aesthetics, the arena, the ambiance, the frame rate, it all runs really well. The character models are fan-freaking-tastic. Now, you may notice that some of the male models and female models do have a bit of a disparity. I know hair physics are tough with video games and everything else. Slight disparity here and there, but nothing too crazy. I really like the way the game runs. And however, when you do get to MyRise, aka career mode, that's when things get a little weird. You see, I decided to play as a female created character following the path of the 4 horsewomen, and well, the graphics definitely vary between the created / original characters and then some of the established characters such as Sasha Banks, Shawn Michaels, and Beth Phoenix. So that was something that kind of really took me out of it when playing that particular mode. But for the most part, this game actually looks like it was created for the year 2022. Now, what's not awesome is the loading time. Similar to Madden, WWE 2K still kind of lags behind other sports games when it comes to the loading times. Things take way too long sometimes, especially when it comes to MyRise and the Creation Suite. It is definitely something that should have been rectified and hopefully will be in the future. In terms of the gameplay, brand new gameplay, a whole combo system. For me, I personally like it. I find it pretty intuitive. The only thing I would really complain about is the fact that the reversal system is a little inconsistent, where you press Y and everything else. Sometimes it feels like you can reverse pretty much anything, and then you can play a whole nother match and you're not able to reverse anything at all. The other thing I kind of don't like is that when you're stunned, it kind of has this like weird red effect, like you're about to pass out or faint or be knocked out. It's very similar to EA Sports UFC before you get knocked out, and I can understand if this is like an MMA game or a boxing game to maybe have that stunned effect all over the screen, but in pro wrestling, I found it a little distracting with this game. In terms of the multi-person matches, they're still a little clunky, they're still a little awkward, they're still a little chaotic, but the game actually runs pretty well, even with a bunch of people in the ring. It actually ran pretty smoothly. It just gets chaotic in a sense that you look at one person, you look at another person, then this person breaks up the pin. I guess it's very similar to multi-person matches in real life, but just something to keep in mind. Now, in terms of the content, where WWE 2K usually shines, this is no different, and because of the fact that this game actually runs relatively well, you can actually enjoy the content unlike WWE 2K20. And man, you get a lot of content. You get your usual universe mode, which is fully customizable. You can even play as a superstar. You, of course, have all your online modes, and online play ran pretty smoothly for me so far. You have your WWE 2K community creations, the creations done by 2K players who are phenomenal. Personally, my favorite part of the game, so you can always keep your game up to date. Absolutely love that. You have 2K Showcase, which celebrates the legendary 20-year career of the great Rey Rey Mysterio, at least when it comes to WWE, although you do get to play a couple of his WCW moments. I really like this. I love the backstory, the documentary style narrated by Rey Mysterio. The only thing that some people may not like is the fact that when you're completing some of these objectives, it immediately cuts to a cutscene. So rather than a video game form of the actual scene of whatever happened in 97 or 2002 or whatever, it cuts to the actual cutscene, which may take some people out of the game a little bit, but I thought it was pretty cool. Little to no complaints about that. What I did have complaints about, well, MyFACTION is very similar to Madden Ultimate Team, EA Sports Ultimate Team, to my team in NBA 2K. You collect card packs, you can build the ultimate team or faction, you collect tokens, you work with virtual currency, and yes, you can purchase currency in various microtransactions. That being said, there are enough free modes and free games to play within this mode where I think you might be able to enjoy it, but if you're somebody like me that's turned off by virtual currencies and microtransactions and all that jazz, this may be one you want to skip. Now, My Rise, aka Career Mode, is a bit of a mixed bag. There's a lot of content. You are a young rookie journeying to the Performance Center. You have the option of picking various backgrounds, including a former pro athlete, which is what I selected. I decided to play the female side of My Rise, and yeah, it is kind of fun, but oof, the dialogue is super cringe.
I think you're in the wrong locker room.
Why? Is this one only for losers?
This is for wrestlers. Don't you have a ball to kick somewhere?
That's cool you're a fan. But FYI, the only thing I'm here to kick is asses.
Are you serious? Typical pampered athlete, thinking you can bluster your way through this. Any talent you might have won't mean anything once the sweating starts. Training here isn't like anything you've done before. I've gotten more bumps and bruises than a rotten jackfruit, and I've pulled muscles I didn't even know I had. You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into.
On top of that, the character models of non-traditional WWE 2K characters are not looking good, as in the characters you only encounter in this game. I mean, yeah, big disparity between Sasha Banks and the woman who's recruiting you to join the Performance Center. And then on top of that, as I've mentioned throughout this review, the loading times are obscenely long. It kind of feels laggy, still feels like this needs to be fleshed out. It's a nice mode to have. It'll definitely take up a lot of your time, but I just found the dialogue and the loading times to be super cringe. And yeah, I was not long for this mode. A mode that I was long for, though, was MyGM, probably the most requested mode over the years from WWE 2K fans, and this does not disappoint to an extent. MyGM allows you to play as an existing general manager or a user-created general manager as you build the ultimate roster in WWE Raw, Smackdown, NXT, or NXT UK, and you compete against rival GMs. You can play as Adam Pearce, you can play as Sonya Deville, Shane McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, and William freaking Regal, who I selected. And granted, William Regal no longer with the company, but hey, you'll notice a recurring theme. There are a lot of wrestlers, due to all the mass releases, that are no longer with the company who you could play as. But hey, I guess that makes it kind of fun, right? So I was able to play as William Regal. I was able to book Raw from top to bottom, and over the course of your time as the GM, you can gather funds, you can get advertising, and you can slowly but surely upgrade your sets, upgrade your rosters to build the ultimate brand, and you go head to head with your rivals. So sometimes SmackDown takes over Raw, sometimes Raw takes over SmackDown, sometimes they're neck and neck. The possibilities are endless. Or are they? Here's the problem with MyGM mode, though. Unlike other franchise modes and GM modes, the maximum time you could play in-game is 50 weeks, which is less than a year. To me, while that is fun, that is a bit limiting, because even in games like Madden, which are still kind of behind compared to other sports games, you could play franchise mode pretty much as long as humanly possible. So that's the one thing that disappointed me. The other thing, the complete lack of secondary titles. Yes, you get to play the world titles, you get to book the world title feuds, but the lack of an Intercontinental title, US US title feud, adding a new title in the mix, like say a TV title, 24/7 title. That was kind of disappointing. The other thing that kind of bothered me though is the fact that the match ratings were inconsistent. You know, for example, I booked a match with Rock and Edge, which should have been a banger, and it was rated as dull. And then I had a match that ended in like a DQ, and it had like 3 or 4 stars. It made absolutely no sense. So in future patches, I would like to see them kind of adjust that a little bit, because the match ratings are very, very inconsistent and don't make sense in and out of the game. But I do think you'll definitely have some fun. In terms of the roster, it is the biggest in WWE 2K history. Yes, there are a lot of now former WWE superstars, but let's cut 2K some slack. Let's keep it real here. There were more releases in WWE history over the last 2 years than there have in the previous 5 to 10, so I will cut them all the slack in the world. It's still kind of cool that you can play as Braun Strowman and some other former characters, and plus there's going to be well over 2 dozen downloadable characters to come if you do buy the season pass, so that is pretty freaking cool. But enough of all that. What's the verdict? Graphically, I gotta give WWE 2K22 an 8 out of 10. Just an awesome looking wrestling game. Gameplay, I give this an 8. It might be a little hard to get the combo system down on lock at first, but there are a number of in-game tutorials. You actually get tutorials from the great Drew Gulak, and I do like the fact that this game overall has all these multiple game modes, these in-game tutorials, and it is very accessible. And even just playing 5 to 10 minutes in, I really started to get the hang of this game. So I think if you're a little patient with practice, make it perfect, I think you will enjoy the gameplay. And again, multi-person matches now, while they're still a little chaotic, they actually run relatively smoothly. So I do think you'll enjoy actually playing this game. Content, I give WWE 2K22 an 8. There is so much to do in WWE 2K games, and now that this game actually runs like a real video game that should work, there's a lot to enjoy. 2K Showcase is a great trip down memory lane for longtime Rey Mysterio fans and new fans who want to learn some wrestling history from one of the all-time greats. Universe mode, super in-depth. You have My Rise, which again has its gripes, but it's still a relatively fun mode if you can get through some of the rough cutscenes. GM mode is great and a step in the right direction. Again, it still feels a little limited with the 50-week limit, the lack of secondary titles as well, but this is all part of one big package, and one big package I think you will enjoy. You still have the epic, robust creation suite where you can create pretty much anything. Overall, TSC Gaming gives WWE 2K22 an 8 out of 10. This is not the perfect wrestling game, but it is an awesome wrestling game that I think hardcore and casual fans alike will definitely enjoy. Yes, there are some faults with My Rise, the long loading times, some of the microtransactions, but from top to bottom, this has something for pretty much everyone. I gotta say, if this is the final WWE 2K game with WWE and 2K, they are certainly ending on a high note. Please like, share, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more updates like this. And until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the games.
Here is your winner and still the Raw Women's Champion, Bianca Belair.
A tremendous victory tonight for Bianca Belair, able to take her longtime rival Rhea Ripley to the limit and then some.
2 young and hungry superstars left it all in the ring. Neither woman has anything to be ashamed of, but tonight the victory belongs to the EST of WWE.